Oh, yeah.
I'm ready when you are, Mrs. Davis.
5.1, reconvene in open session. I need a motion and a second. Moved by Mr. O'Banion,
Second.
second by Mr. Bonds. Call for the vote. Can you vote, Mr. Gunner?
Oh, sure you go.
And it passes. 5.2, report out of closed session. There is none. 6.1, election of officers. I need a motion and a second, and I would like to nominate Mr. O'Banion for school board president.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Van Wert. Call for the vote.
Let me amend that now. Let me amend it and then I'll submit.
Okay, thank you.
Come up yet, did it?
Who was the second?
Mr. Van Wert?
And no box. You have one, Katina?
No.
We don't have a box, man, Katina down here.
She's amending it. It'll just be a
Oh,
second.
there it goes. There it is.
There we go. And it passes. Congratulations, Mr. O'Banion.
Probably easier. Unless you'll be logged out, I can do it.
No.
You can leave your first. Thank you, Mrs. Davis.
Yeah, we're more than welcome, Mr. O'Banion. Let me get my contaminated water. out of here.
Six point two, election of officers. Clerk, I need a motion.
I'd like to nominate Moy Mraz.
Can I get a second?
Second.
Are there any other nominations? Call for the vote. And it passes. Congratulations, Mr. Mraz. There you are. Hey, buddy. 6.3, appointment of the superintendent as the secretary of the board of trustees. I need a motion.
So moved.
Motion by Mrs. Davis,
Second.
second by Mr. Mraz. Call for the vote. And it passes. 6.4, selection of day, time, and location of regular meetings. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
By Mrs. Davis, second.
Second.
By Mr. Bonds, Dr. Miller.
The December date, 2021, will be moved to 5 o'clock instead of 3 o'clock. Normal years, we do a 3 o'clock and a 5 o'clock. This year we did 5 and 7, and next year we'll do 5 and 7 also.
Very good. Any questions? Call for the vote. Passes. Item 6.5, Resolution 2021-10, certification of signatures. Authorized signatures to approve payroll signature authorization list. Can I have a motion, please?
So move.
By Mr. Bond, second by Mr. Van Wert. Dr. Miller?
So these are basically the, who can sign for payroll, and that's Mrs. Alyssa Kopensky, myself, and Lalo Lopez.
Any other questions? Call for the vote.
Sorry. Hang on. Who was the second?
I was first and
Who's second?
Mr. Van Wert and Mr. Bond?
mine's just real slow.
And it passes. Item 6.6, delegation of authority. Can I have a motion, please?
So moved.
By Mr. Bond, second by
Second.
Mrs. Davis. Dr. Miller?
So annually, the district has a hearing officer for expulsion hearings and different issues in the district. And we are going to select Frank Lemos as our hearing officer.
Are there any questions or concerns? Call for the vote.
Concerned about that
He
class
has lots
out
of
there.
experience.
I was waiting to see if you were gonna bolt.
And it passes. Congratulations, Mr. Lemos.
Thank you.
7.1, pledge allegiance to the flag. Mr. Mraz, will you please lead us?
Ready, salute?
Pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
8.1, invitation. Mrs. Davis, would you please?
Please bow your head if you're so inclined. Lord, we come to you in these uncertain times, knowing that the only thing that is certain is that you love us and that you will continue to watch over us, protect us, take care of us. Lord, we ask you to please continue to put your hedge of protection on our first responders, whether they be out in the field or in the hospitals. And I ask you, Lord, as we start on this Christmas break that our staff so desperately needs, that you please watch over them, protect them, give them peace, Lord, in these weeks that they're away. Watch over and protect these kids, Lord, and please allow us all to come back safely, knowing that we're doing what we do in your name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Mrs. Davis. Informational item, public hearing, 9.1, resolution 2021-09, making findings in connection with energy conservation contracts. Is that Mr.
Mr. McCullough.
McCullough?
So this aligns with 12.12, so I don't know if you want to do it again, but basically this is just talking about aligning a group of Vector Energy Group. We're going to do a lighting upgrade for Dpol High School, Marks Elementary, Bryant, and George Christian. And the reason we're doing this again, I know I already passed this once, but Dpol Elementary didn't go through PG&E. So we're working with PG&E to try to do that, but right now it's not going to happen. And roughly we're going to be saving on our lighting. We're going to save $57,000 a year, and our payment's going to be $4,800 a month, but that'll be our PG&E bill. And what else? And it's going to take us roughly 4.5 years to pay off this project.
But it'll be taken out of our
PG&E.
bill. It won't be a payment. It'll just be-
Why DPE?
Say that one.
Why not DPE? Why isn't DPE?
The savings didn't align.
Oh,
So
okay.
they'll only do a certain of savings, so it didn't align, so hopefully in the near future it will.
Very good.
Or-
Any other questions? Very good, thank you. 10.1, public concerns will be heard by the board at this time. However, they will not be discussed. Policy number 9323 limits individuals' presentation to 3 minutes. The president may extend the time under certain circumstances. This is the opportunity for the members of the public to focus on issues important to the district's purpose of education. Under board policy, this time may not be used to present derogatory information of a personal nature by any employee. Members of the public who wish to address the board must speak from the podium and identify themselves. Nobody? Thank you. Item 11.1, adoption of routine consent items. The consent calendar represents routine items acted upon in one motion by roll call vote. The recommendation is for adoption unless otherwise specified. Any item can be removed for discussion upon request. Contracts, agreements, and proposals. 11.2, RLP budget management agreement. 11.3, CSU Stanislaus School Administration Field Experience Agreement. 11.4, CSU Stanislaus Student Teaching Agreement. 11.5, Italo LLC website subscription. 11.6, Soft Choice CAMSA enrollment, a donation. 11.7, HP Chromebook donation. Minutes, 11.8, board meeting minutes of 11/19/20, regular board meeting. Warrants and payroll, 11.9, warrants and payroll. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
By Mrs. Davis, seconded by
Second.
Mr. Moran. Is there any discussion? The only thing I want to point out is that the Chromebook was in the hundreds of thousands of dollars.
We received 2,000 of that.
Yeah, we see 2,000, about $450,000 in total.
Yeah, I saw that.
Sorry.
Okay, call motion to call the vote. Unless anybody else had any more discussion.
Did we send a thank you note?
With their tax write-off.
And it passed. Action items, 12.1, resolution number 2021-09, making findings in connection with energy conservation contract district-wide lighting upgrade. Can I get a motion, please?
So moved.
By Mr. Bond, seconded by
Second.
Mr. Mraz. This is this exact same as what you just discussed. Is there any other discussion or questions for Mr. McCullough? Call it the vote. Says you know. And it passes. 12.2, 2020-21 first interim budget report and fiscal cash status update. Can I get a motion, please?
So moved.
By Mrs. Davis, seconded by
Second.
Mr. Mraz. Ms. Kopinski.
Good evening, hello, how are you?
Good evening.
Great.
Great.
Good. Okay, so, first interim, Jay, if you would go back to that first interim presentation, we'll do the cash flow after. That one, thank you so much. So the first interim budget report, it's a requirement of AB 1200, and it's our first reporting for the fiscal year. It'll be followed by the second interim, and that comes in March. Next slide. So this reflects budget revisions from July 1st through October 31st. The budget, as you know, was adopted back in June. And there, a lot of things have changed. So the requirement is that the budget is looked at and is determined if there's a positive certification based on our current projections that we will meet our financial obligations for the current fiscal year and subsequent 2 years. We could also see that the qualification would be qualified, and that's that the district may meet its financial obligations for the current year and subsequent 2 fiscal years. Or a negative certification is that the district is unable to meet obligations for the remainder of the fiscal year and the 2 subsequent years. So we'll take a look at the budget and see how it's looking here in Dos Palace this year. For guidance, there are a number of things. The common message comes out from the Merced County Office of Education. They work with the Department of Finance, the State Board of Education, California Department of Education, and FCMAT, the Financial Crisis Management Assistance Team, to develop the guidance. The revenue is projected by the LCFF calculator that FCMAT puts out. And our budget's also driven by the LCAP with the goals and actions in there, specifically the use of the $6.8 million for supplemental concentration, which is the dollars that increase the needs for our high needs students, that meet the needs of our high needs students. So if we look at the budget assumptions that have been incorporated, at the top is the COLA, and in fiscal year 1920, there was a 3.26% COLA. And in fiscal 2021, the current year, the COLA is 2.31%, although there was a suspension of that COLA due to the price of the economy and the current economic conditions in California. That is continuing 21, 22, and 22, 23. You can also see that lottery and the mandate block grant is in a holding pattern because the conditions are just unknown in the California economy at this time. STRS and PERS rates are shown there. They have not changed significantly since we developed the budget, but it is good to note that moving into 22, 23, these STRS and PERS rates have a significant increase and something to consider as we're looking at those out years. So let's next take a look at the significant budget changes from the adopted budget. So what's new since adopted budget? Well, I had projected that enrollment would be the same as we had in current 1920 year of 2346, and census reports show that our enrollment came in at 2292. That's a decline of 54. So enrollment does fluctuate from year to year, after this time, but that's the number that we'll lock in for this year as our enrollment for this year. One thing to note is that statewide enrollment is down. There's been seen a lot of kindergartners that made different decisions for this year. And you can see on that chart that I showed you in the narrative, we did take a big hit in kindergarten. So hopefully those students that aren't with us at the moment will be back, and that will have a significant change in our enrollment next year. So with the declining enrollment, our ADA, which drives our funding, is from our prior years. So including that hold harmless language from the pandemic was also funding all districts at the 1920 P2 ADA. So our funding is based on 2257, not the projected 2182 from our current year enrollment. The next chart shows how 1920's actual enrollment was less than the prior year. So that was our first year of declining enrollment. And we were funded on prior year in 1920. That has continued into 2021, where we will be funded at 2257. If we don't see an increase in enrollment, we'll continue that declining enrollment pattern and will be funded on our prior year. But restoring those kindergartners that we lost here would easily bring in an extra 600,000 to our current projections. So we'll just begin to wait and see for the moment, and a lot of things could change even month to month. On the next comparison, this is an ADA comparison from 2017-18 through 23-24. If you would look at 18-19, that was the year that Governor Brown fully funded the LCFF, and we received a super COLA, so that was a 3.7% increase. And enrollment was up, so that was a really great year. That was the last really, really great year that Dos Palos has seen. And you can see there was a very big increase in dollars. But as the conditions have been put in place in 2020, 2021, declining enrollment, no funded COLA, you can see how that impacts the ongoing revenue by looking at that bottom line, the LCFF dollar change over the prior year. You can see how the percentage is actually less than 1920. So 1920, we received 27,800,000, and our revenue, our LCFF revenue in 2021 was 27,100,000. So a loss of 700,000 right there. The good news on the next slide is that at the adopted budget time, we were incorporating a 7.93% cut to the LCFF revenue. And that was eliminated due to a different projections that the governor chose to go a different way. The legislature talked to the governor and said, hey, let's not cut the LCFF revenue, but we'll implement the cash deferrals and we'll see what happens. So that was a really good plan. And so we will be able to incorporate additional $2.2 million into our revenue that is actually owed to us rather than taking the hit of the revenue being a budget cut for us. So that will be incorporated here. Looking out at some other fluctuations that may be in the works is federal stimulus money that may be coming in. So that would help us long term because the COVID response to COVID will still be ongoing even after this year. And we'll just have to wait. And the windfall back when we developed the budget, they determined what the projections for revenues would be, and they've actually outpaced what was expected. So the Department of Finance had said this is considered a windfall, and one thing we could use the windfall for is to offset the deferrals. It's not an automatic thing. It takes the legislature. They would have to meet. They have to meet before February and make the decision to table the deferrals, and that would be a great thing, and it is in the works. So we'll have to wait and see on that. So on the next slide, there have been changes to the state dollars, the state funds, state revenues. Also, at the end of June, we were notified of the CARES Act dollars that will be coming our way. So this budget incorporates the CARES Act funds of $3.5 million, additional state revenue CARES Act money of $244,000, and I recognized the carryover money for the restricted programs, specifically Title I dollars, had a $606,000 carryover, which was allowed because of COVID. Typically, you can only carry over 15% in the title programs, but because of COVID, things kind of got all screwy. The waiver was put into place, and we have more time to spend the title on monies, so I was able to incorporate that into this budget. So those are the good news. And if we take a look at the next slide, here's just a breakdown of how those revenues fall. And next we'll look at expenses. So when you recognize the restricted revenue, you have to have some balancing offsetting expenses. So incorporated into this budget is a placeholder of expenses for those title monies and the COVID dollars. So an increase of expenses of $4.3 million is recognized in this budget. And if we look at the breakdown of expenses, you can see it's not unusual that salary and benefits are in the top 3 categories, and that's just a normal, that's normal to see. So we're tracking right there. If we look a little bit more closely at salary and benefits on the next slide, a healthy percentage for salary and benefits in a budget is 78 to 80% of revenues. So this year, since we recognized a significant amount of the one-time dollars for COVID, our percentage is a little bit less than that because our revenues bumped up so dramatically, very quickly. But as our revenues in the out years is projected to decline, if we kept our expenses the same, which this budget shows, and incorporated step and column and increases to benefits, our expenses for salary and benefits will quickly jump beyond the healthy 80% to 83% next year, 85% in the year after. So it's something that's good to know now, so that we have time to implement changes that might need to be made. And as I said, this is our budget through October 31st. So the bottom line, which is fun to know, is that when we adopted the budget, we had a deficit. Revenues, expenses outpaced revenues by $3 million. And with all the incorporated changes, we'll do a lot of things with the learning loss mitigation dollars. The first interim fund balance is now just $760,000. So much more in line and a workable budget. So how does that look if we put our current budget into the multi-year projections? So let me just walk you through the chart a little bit here. So I included the 1920 starting point. And then so the second column is the 2021 first interim budget. The beginning balance is at the top. So that's the fund balance, not all cash, that we started with. We expect to get the 36.5 revenues for 2021. There's been budgeted $37 million in expenses. The difference between the 36 million and the 37 million is that negative 760,000. So you take the negative 760,000 from the beginning balance, and you have the ending balance of 9 million. So you see 9,013,253. We add in Fund 17, and I did that because our SACS software adds that in, and I wanted the numbers to match the report that goes to the state and to the county. So I added that $1,238. There's not that much in that fund, but it adds it anyway. So the total available for reserves is $8,766,915. That is less, is adding the 1,238, but it's taking out the restricted dollars that aren't available for reserve. So that's why it's not 9 million and 100,000. So the 16% is on the bottom line. 16% of the revenues here is about 5.5 million. So that amount is reflected in the 16%. The $2.7 million that's in the assignments, those are the things that have been identified as, if we have a fund balance, we want 600,000 to go to textbooks. We want 600,000 to go to safety measures. We want $1 million to go to, can't remember what the million was.
Fund 40.
That's actually a budgeted item. That's not in our fund balance, but yes, that was something in the budgeted item. But that's identified on the reserve in the SACS document. So so that's how that whole column reads. So then you carry over the ending balance of 9,013,000 to year 21-22, and it starts all over again. Now incorporated into here, as I said, is no COLA. So the increase in revenue starts, there's just nothing there. There's nothing there to offset increase in stirs and PERS and an increase in operating expenses. So And then in declining enrollment, so we have to take advantage, we have to incorporate that we won't receive as much funding because we won't have as many students here to serve. So each of the years go on, and the deficit in 2020, 21, 22, 2.76 is significant. That just means we need to take a look back and make the necessary changes that need to be in place in order to have a budget that works. But the multi-year projections does show that we are able to meet our current and 2 subsequent years. So we can claim positive certification for the first annual report, which is where we needed to land when we started. Are there any questions?
Thank you very much.
And I think part of this is the cash report too. So do they vote after? Should I do I need to finish that and as part of the same agenda item, correct?
Yes, cash status update.
Okay, so as we look, so that was projection and fund balance. But cash is an entirely different thing. So we'll bring up, that's your big paper that you got with all the numbers. And if you look at the top yellow box, nothing's changed there. Nothing's changed with the starting cash. For the year, we started with 7 million. That's cash in the county treasury. And updated, this budget has been updated to reflect the first interim changes, budget changes. And you can follow along on the bottom of this in the green line, how cash ends the month each month. But it might be more useful to look at the chart because we start at the 7 million. And because the deferrals have not been permanently off the table, our cash flow now shows that starting in February, when we don't receive the 1.5 million that we thought we were going to receive, it just keeps ticking down. February, March, April, May, and the district now is funding the cash that we would have typically received, but we're not receiving. So each payroll is about 1.5 million. So the cash just kind of ticks down month after month after month, and we will end June now with just 1.5 million. The county had asked that I provide a 2-year cash flow when submitting the first interim report. So if we look at cash moving on into the second year out, we started with 1.3 million. There's accounts payable due, so it's not necessarily what we ended the cash with because certain other things happened in that month. We got some cash, we had to pay some other bills. So 1.3 it starts. The cash starts coming back to us from the deferrals beginning in August. So it starts to tick up a little bit. And in December, it's at a pretty healthy state, but then those deferrals start hitting again in February and the cash quickly drops. It goes into the red in May and probably too close for comfort in June. But as you know from prior board meetings, we have put in place measures to cover cash flow. Our ending fund balance is still 6.2 million, but the cash in the bank is much less than that.
Because of the deferrals.
Because of the deferrals.
And again, we're fortunate because we have a reserve. Most districts, a lot of districts have 3%. And so this chart looks very different in the districts.
Yeah.
And we do have the measures in place. We have the dry fund period funding, which will allow us to go negative in our cash. We also can borrow from other funds if we want to do it that way. And there's an additional one called a TRAN, which I will make sure that we have in place to do if need be. But this also incorporates no changes in expenses in the second year out. It's the same as what I presented here. So we know moving out to that second year, we're gonna have to take a look at where we're at, what we have for enrollment, what we have for expenses in place, and really make sure we've got it all dialed in.
Any other questions? Nope. Call for the vote. And it passes. Thank you very much. 12.3, budget overview for parents. Can I have a motion, please? Moran, second by? Mrs. Davis. Ms. Kapinski.
So presented here is our budget overview for parents because we did not have the LCAP process in June. It was a requirement to have the budget overview for parents, which is kind of our annual update for the 1920. And take a look at the 2021 with the learning continuity plan was approved. This incorporates what we've identified for that, and it also reports that in 1920 we did provide all of our services for increased and improved services for our finding students, and it's there for your review and approval. It will be posted on our website so parents are able to see. I'm also requesting it to be translated into Spanish so it can be posted and accessible.
Very good, thank you. Any questions? Call for the vote. And it passes. Thank you. 12.4, class link. May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
By Mr. Bond, seconded by Mr. Moran. Dr. Miller.
So ClassLink, if you guys over the last couple of months, we've had new platforms that we've added to our district. And so some of those platforms won't stay with us, but some of them will. In the meantime, during this time, ClassLink will allow staff members and students to, when they log in, all of their programs will be on one login versus having to log in to multiple platforms at different times. It'll just be one login and all of the platforms will be there at their ease to be easily access. So that's what ClassLink is.
Very good. Are there any questions for Dr. Miller?
The startup fee is covered by the CARES fund, correct?
Any other questions? Call for the vote. And it passes. 12.5 DPOL COVID-19 prevention plan. Can I have a motion, please?
So moved. I'll second.
By Mr. Van Wert, seconded by Mr. Moraz. Dr. Miller?
So if you guys recall, there's been some updates from Cal OSHA, and Lalo will jump in at any time. So we have basically a new plan. We have a plan from the summer that we worked with all staff, not all staff, but representatives from each unit, and then also administration and district office staff to create a plan for students to come back to school and staff to come back to school. This plan is updated to reflect that. We didn't have a lot of work to do for this plan because our plan before had so much information in it and was aligned to the new OSHA requirements. One change is that we need to offer COVID-19 testing free to all staff members. So we are in the process, actually just got an email before I came to this meeting. We're going to work with Apex to allow our staff members to get tested 3 days a week. And we're also looking into the new Abbott laboratories. They're $25 a piece. $25 a piece. You can actually order them and the staff can take them home and test themselves if they would like. So, but that's really the only major change to the plan is that new change. And so, but we are acting on it and like I said, connecting with Apex, who's local and convenient, but then also long-term, because that new test just got recently approved, maybe I think a few days ago. And so we're going to look into purchasing those over time, but that'll all be purchased through COVID-19 learning loss mitigation funds.
Do we know the turnaround time on those tests?
The ones from Abbott Laboratories, from what I read, and Priscilla here, but she shared that with me, that it's within 15-20 minutes, the home one. I believe Apex is 2 to 3 days. So
So the home one, if you test positive, you have to go get the other test? Or, I mean, is that a
I
true?
would need to talk to Priscilla about that, but yeah, I mean, we're gonna, you know, everything that we need to do, we're gonna do.
Any other discussion, question? Call for the vote. Passes. Item 12.6, revised CSEA salary schedule. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
By Mr. Vaughn, seconded by
I'll second.
Brad. Afternoon.
So, the new requirement is to increase the minimum wage to $14 starting January 1st, 2021. And so, on the CSEA salary schedule, the first, range 1, step 1, and, hold it real quick. Range 1, step 1, range 2, step 1, and then step 2, range 1 have all been moved because they were below $14. They've all been moved to $14 to be in line with the new requirement.
Any questions? Call for the vote. That's passed. Item 12.7, classroom expense waiver. Can I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Mr. Vaughn, seconded by Mr. Mraz.
So this it's not necessarily a waiver yet. It's basically a waiver to get us to do an audit. Basically, the requirement is that we have to spend 55% of our revenue on classroom salary and benefits, which are teachers and instructional aides. And so we are 0.52, or excuse me, 0.58 below that, which is about $173,000. And so the next process or the next step is to do a kind of a full audit through the county office. And last year, you guys recall, you guys all know, we had 3 assistant superintendents of business services. And so there might have been some changes or entries that could have been different throughout that year. And so the county office is going to do an audit and look at all of the entries. And it could take months, 6 months potentially. And so over that time, so you know, after we do the audit, then we'll come back and we'll either say, hey, we are at 55%, or this number is accurate and we are below. And so, and then we'll talk about that.
Any questions? Call for the vote. It passes. Personnel, item 13.1, extra pay for extra duty, winter unit recovery monitor. Have a motion, please.
So moved.
By Mr. Vaughn, seconded by
Second.
Mr. Mraz. Dr. Miller.
So we would like to, the concurrent students that are working on Edgenuity, we would like to allow them to work through the winter. Katie Miller has agreed to facilitate that periodically through the winter break. And so, and this is all through learning loss mitigation funds to be able to allow students to make up those credits that they're working on concurrently towards graduation.
Any questions, Dr. Miller?
These will be our students over at West Side doing this, or will this also be high school students? I would just think the
So
West Side, right?
it's the students that are behind on credits that are working outside of their schedule. Correct?
Students mostly concurrent through DPHS, and all students through alternative ed who are logged on credit deficiency on Edgenuity will have access for 3 weeks. I take that back, 13 days. We're not gonna pay around week.
Any questions?
No.
Call for the vote. Fantastic. Item 13.2, extra pay for extra duty, winter planning days. I have a motion, please. By
I'll
Mr.
second.
Davis, seconded by Mr. Mraz. Dr. Miller.
So our third grade, fifth grade team, and sped teams, each team has requested 3 days for planning. Teams will focus on revising pacing calendars, preparing to launch guided reading program, preparing to pilot Eureka math module. Participants will be paid hourly, $35 an hour. Teachers will break down student learning standards to ensure that we are providing targeted instruction for identified student needs.
Are there any questions? Call for the vote. Motion passes. Item 13.3, extra pay for extra duty, math department planning days. Is there a motion?
So moved. Second.
By Mr. Vaughn, seconded by Mr. Van Wert. Dr. Miller.
So similar, the math teams would like to get together and work on their benchmarks and other programs, other platforms that they have to collaborate and continue to grow their lessons for distance learning and during the pandemic. So it'd be like a time for them to get together and collaborate.
Are there any questions? For the vote. And it passes. 13.4, Intervention Center Coordinator, Bryant Middle School. Recommended candidate, Brooke Sullivan. Is there a motion?
So moved.
By Mr. Vaughn, seconded. By Mrs. Davis. Dr. Miller.
So this is a refill position. We left it, there wasn't any students on campus at the very beginning of the school year, if you recall, and so we left the position empty for as long as we could. And so now students are back on campus. And so now we've hired the position. So
Are there any questions?
Our intervention specialist, that's our,
ICT coordinator,
the RCC coordinator. Okay, and we have this at the high school as well,
correct.
it's already going.
Mr. Davis.
It was just, we needed to enact over at Bryant.
Yep.
Bringing them aboard, okay.
Are there any other questions? Call for the vote. That passes. Item 13.5, Administrative Assistant, Educational Services, recommended candidates, Natalia Munoz. Is there a motion?
So moved.
By Mr. Vaughn, seconded by
Second.
Mr. Mraz. Dr. Miller.
So this is our position left vacant for 6 months. And now with things ramping up in ed services, we've hired the position. But like I said, again, similar to the other position left vacant for 6 months, and now it's time to, we need to hire this position.
So it's not a new position, just for clarification, it's just a restaffing of a position that's been vacant.
Correct.
Are there any other questions? Call for the vote. That passes. Item 13.6, paraprofessional, Dos Passos Elementary School, recommended candidate, Regina Baltazar. Is there a motion? By Mrs. Davis, seconded by
Second.
Mr. Mraz. Dr. Miller.
Similar, this is was a vacant position, and it's been refilled.
Are there any questions?
Vacant, like just recently vacated, not vacant for.
Lala, was this, how long has this one been vacant?
It's probably recent, 2 months or so.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions? Call for the vote. Passes. 13.7, temporary middle school multiple subject teacher for 2021 school year, Bryant Middle School. Recommended candidate, Lillian Beltran. Is there a motion? By Mrs. Davis, seconded by Mr. O'Banion. Dr. Miller.
So this position was vacated earlier in the semester. We had a long-term sub in the position. Now this is the full-time person that will finish the school year in that position. So this is actually the third person in the position but will finish the school year on a temporary contract.
Are there any questions? Call the vote. Fantastic. 13.8, school psychologist intern. 2020-21 school year, district recommended candidates, Dawn Nahas. Am I close? Nahas?
Bobble says yes.
Yes? Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Mr. Perez, seconded by
Second.
So
Mr. Van Wert. Dr. Miller.
this position was left vacant as well. However, it's a intern position and it will be prorated. Normally, annually it's 25,000, but since these per semester, it'll be 12,500. This person also gets to work kind of be on an internship and get their hours, and we are able to utilize their skills and work along our school psychologists.
Very good. Call for the vote. And it passes. 13.9, webmaster, Dos Palos Elementary School. Recommended candidate, Mara Duarte. Is there a motion? By Mrs. Reyes, seconded by Mr. Mraz. Dr. Miller.
So these are, the next few are stipend positions, and they're webmaster and teacher tech liaisons. And then each site has a stipend position for that.
Are there any questions? Call for the vote. And it passes. 13.10, webmaster, Marks Elementary School. Recommended candidate, Natalia Altamirano. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Mr. Mraz, seconded by Mr. Van Wert. Dr. Miller.
Same
thing.
Are there any questions? Call for the vote. That passes. 13.11, webmaster, Bryant Middle School. Recommended candidate, Andrew Montez. Is there a motion?
So moved.
By Mrs. Davis, seconded by Mr. O'Banion. Dr. Miller.
Same.
Are there any questions?
Nope.
Call for the vote. And it passes. 13.12, webmaster, George Christian Education Center. Recommended candidate, Francisca Bravo.
Second.
By Mrs. Davis, seconded by Mr. Mraz. Dr. Miller.
Same.
Are there any questions? Call for the vote. And it passes. 13.13, teacher tech liaison, Dos Palos Elementary School. Recommended candidate, Robin Pinto. Is there a motion?
So moved.
By Mr. Mraz, seconded by Mrs. Davis. Dr. Miller.
The teacher tech liaisons are basically the tech liaisons at each school site, and they all work on Paget's tech committee.
Are there any questions? Call for the vote. And it passes. 13.14, teacher tech liaison, Marks Elementary School. Recommended candidate, Samantha Padilla. Is there a motion?
I'd like to move that we take the three remaining tech positions, 13.14, 13.15, and 13.16.
Can I get a second on that motion?
Second.
By Mr. Mraz. Make everybody clear. The motion on the table is to take 13.14, 13.15, 13.16, These are teacher tech liaison, Dos Falls High School, recommended candidate Jennifer Hunger, 13.16. Teacher tech liaison, George Christian Education Center, recommended candidate Katie Miller. And this one, or is there only two of them?
Samantha Padilla, you got her already?
Sorry. And 13.14, teacher tech liaison, Marks Elementary School, recommended candidate Samantha Padilla. 13.14, 13.15, and 13.16, all as one motion by Mrs. Davis, seconded by Mr. Murad. Are there any questions or comments? Before we vote? Are we ready, guys? Call for the vote. And it passes. 13.17, FMLA, COVID leave, emergency paid sick leave, expanded family medical leave. Is there a motion?
So moved. Second.
By Mr. Bond, seconded by Mr. Mraz. Dr. Miller.
Yeah, this is the staff that I'll have to know when until the meeting.
Are there any questions? Call for the vote. And it passes. Information and discussion items. These are informational only. 14.1 resignations. And 14.2 federal program monitoring audit 2020-2021 school year. Do we have anything for 14.2, Dr. Miller?
Yeah, it's just letting everybody know that we're gonna go through FPM this year, which is basically an audit of our categoricals for the most part, and it's pretty intense, and so it's gonna be a great opportunity for Mrs. Grijalva.
Passing it on, I love it. Any questions about any of that, guys? No. Written reports, 15.1, educational and personnel services. Mr. Lopez. 15.2, food services, Rhonda Sullivan. 15.3, health services, Priscilla Whitaker. 15.4, maintenance, operations, and transportation, Matthew McCullough. 15.5, preschool, Virginia Franco. 15.6, special education, Laura Delmas. 15.7, technology, Pajay Lee. I will say I read 15.4 with some light reading. Some light reading. I think there was, anyway, good stuff. How's your desk?
Oh,
This
it's
is going on.
beautiful. You guys are welcome to this. I actually have a lovely new office that Matt and his team put together.
I know, that's why I read his report. 14-page report.
Catching the eye.
9, sorry. Oral report 16.1, superintendent's report.
So I just want to, again, I thank everybody, but we're finally here to the end of the semester. And it's been a long semester, a lot of Zoom meetings, a lot of planning, a lot of trust with staff, a lot of just collaboration. If we were to go back in March and to where we are right now, I feel like I know everybody a little bit more than I would have if we didn't have to go through the Zoom meetings. And like I said, just the sheer planning and the animals in the background and all of those things that we've kind of endured and getting kids back on campus. There's been so many accomplishments through difficult times. Everybody has stepped up. Everybody has stepped up. And I can't say enough about the folks in this district and people that are just relentless. Just absolutely relentless about the best English kids. And I think that thank everybody. Thank everybody. I want to congratulate newly elected board members. And I'd like to thank all board members for your commitment to the district and wanting to re-up. It's not always fun, but you guys are committed and you guys all put the best of the kids first. And I thank you for that. The district has utilized all 2.5 million of the federal COVID money, flood loss mitigation, and the cell towers should be up pretty soon. We're going to have a little snag at Bryant, working with the county, but it might take a little bit longer for the cell tower at Bryant. But I think we're about 2.5 months out for that one because it takes a little bit more of a process with the DSA, the county, and all of that stuff. but the other tower should be up fairly soon. And so, again, 95% of our students will have free internet for the next, at least by 10 years, which is pretty cool. And I just want to wish everybody happy holidays. It's been a lot, and I know a lot of people need a break, and they need time with their families. And I just, like I said, again, I just want to wish everybody happy holidays and thank you for everything you do.
Report from board members, 16.2, our newly elected Ms. Katina Austin. Do you have anything to report?
Not at this time.
Mr. Greenwood?
Yeah, everybody just have a good Christmas and a good New Year's and try to be safe.
Just want to thank everybody getting us through half the year. You guys are doing an awesome job, working very hard, appreciative for everything you have done. Special thanks to Miss Rhonda. Awesome. So, I mean, enjoyed our meal tonight, so that's what that was all about. But thank you very much. No, but
We don't even
all
want
of
to tell
you,
them what we had.
we don't got to tell what you have, but awesome. No, I just appreciate the effort that everybody's done. It hasn't been easy. And I don't want you guys to think it's going, unseen, but we appreciate the effort. We appreciate the hard work, the creativity, everything you guys are doing to keeping us running. Couldn't do it without you guys. Thank you.
Mr. Ron?
Oh,
Nothing. This is the red.
I just want to hope everybody has a happy holidays, Merry Christmas with their family, and a safe and happy New Year. And I'd like to recognize grounds and maintenance for the job they do.
This is Davis.
I just kind of want to reiterate what Mr. Morales said and just say thank you. We know it has not been easy for any of you, regardless of what department you work in. We appreciate you. I appreciate you stepping up for the kids. I sometimes think that maybe you don't think that we understand the struggle that each of you are going through, because you want to do more for these kids because they're struggling horribly. So I just want to say thank you for that, because I see the text messages and the emails, and I know that it rips my heart out. So it has to be 10 times worse for all of you. So thank you for that. And I hope that you have a safe, restful, peaceful, and rejuvenating break. And God bless you and your family.
I'm going to piggyback off this is the rest and recognize a group that we have working in our district that doesn't always get a lot of recognition, but they're as much on the front line of this pandemic as our custodians around these campuses and stuff are putting in a lot of good work and making sure that our classrooms are safe for our teachers and staff. And they don't always get all the recognition, so I'd like to recognize them as well as all staff members. You guys are all important, and it wouldn't, like everybody else has said, this wouldn't be happening if it wasn't for everybody's collective effort. I'd like to personally thank Mr. Chase for the last 2 years that I've been on here with. He was a good board member. Welcome, Mrs. Austin. I'm sure she's going to be a great addition to our group. Congratulations to everybody else who stuck around. We still got a lot of work to do, and we're going to continue to work on it. Merry Christmas. Everybody be safe. 17.1, request from board members for future agenda items. Mrs. Austin.
None.
Nothing. Mr. Elwood? Mr. Mraz?
I was asked if we had, and I know we talked about intervention programs, but our students that are falling behind on our distance learning, do we have programs that parents can reach out directly to and get extra help for these kids, whether it be after school, after the actual, distant learning time and the actual in-class time? Is there any extra programs that these parents can reach out for those kids who are falling behind and get that little extra help? Whether it be after school time, do we need to make this?
So we have, it's really about reaching out to teachers, and teachers go the extra mile for kids. And so it's really about reaching out to administrators and letting them know that there's a need. And so if there's other lines of communication, they reach out and communicate. Usually there's extra time free, and we have that a lot and to pay for through COVID-19 funds to compensate teachers for their extra time when needed and things like that. So it's really about asking for it and communicating with teachers.
So any parent out there struggling to get their child extra help, revert them back to our site principals, school counselors. As you're hearing out there, make sure you're making those phone calls, get your children the extra help so we can get these grades back up to where you would like to see them. Help them out with those missing assignments.
I don't have any requests, just more of a statement. I'll reiterate that because of everything that everybody's done, the ed school is probably the safest place our teachers can be, our kids can be in class. So, Mrs. Davis, do you have anything?
I don't.
Mrs. Ray? Ron?
No,
18.1, can I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
so move.
By Mrs. Davis, seconded by Mr. Van Wert. Call for vote. Bill, you got a vote. And it passes, meeting adjourned.
Pardon me. So I think you can take the last one.
We're hoping we could leave them.